Take a right just here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hello? No, this video is not for you, unless you're me from the future. You are. Well, fantastic. Well, let me remind you of this ride that I did. Yeah, no, I was using the Osmo Action. I was. Do you remember having all the problems uploading to YouTube with the standard 1080p and the kind of funny artifacts? Well, yeah. So this time I was trying to record it all at 4K, 30 FPS, and then I was trying to do all the editing in iMovie. Yeah, I know, iMovie. Yeah. No, you're right. I couldn't do it all. Yeah. No, I had to use Keynote to do some of the overlays. Yes, and I had to use GIMP to do the thumbnail. But the rest of it, the rest of it was in iMovie. So what was it? Yeah, no. So this wasn't an observed Sunday. This was a kind of a booked ride by appointment, organised by the Way Valley team and with Dave. So yeah, no, thanks Dave. That was a really good ride. Dave lives kind of close to me, so it worked out really, really well. So this was 25th of January. Yeah, 25th of January. Yeah. So we just decided to just kind of have a look and see how my riding was. No, that's right. Yeah. On the previous ride that I did, someone had suggested that they thought I was test ready. So this is like a kind of a pre-assessment kind of ride. So I was kind of asking myself the question. Have you heard this phrase? Quiet efficiency. Yeah, quiet efficiency. So it's kind of, along with being a thinking rider, quiet efficiency is one of these kind of hallmarks of an advanced rider. So I kind of, I think I was thinking about thinking. So I thought I'd got that part of it done, and starting to understand some of the competencies and putting them into practice. But it was this thing, this quiet efficiency thing. It was trying to figure out if I was there, because that for me was really the hallmark of whether I was an advanced rider. So you probably know that by now, what happened. But this is just a general ride. And I'd kind of said to Dave, I do a lot of urban riding, so slow control, that kind of stuff, I'm happy with that. So I'm looking at the video, so I'm kind of here. I'm kind of in some traffic here at the moment. I'm just kind of trying to go slowly, keep the bike moving, because if the bike's moving, it's more agile. You can move it from one side to the other if you have to, and everything. But rather than being stop start on a bike, because while you're stopped, you can't go anywhere. So always better to have a little bit of movement, a little bit of slow control. So yeah, we're kind of coming up to this the A3 here. So it's quite a busy section, lots of pedestrians. So I'm kind of looking around here. Yeah, no, at this point I'm checking to see, is anyone coming out of the car parks on the side? There's lots of shops here, there's lots of people here, there's bus stops, cars are trying to pass each other, there's a garage at the end, there's all sorts of busy stuff going on, bikes filtering and everything. There's this crosshatch section, and cars are nipping through it. It's actually a turn for cars coming the other way. So yeah, and I probably could have got it. I probably could. It's a broken line on the crosshatched area, and the check is really, is it safe? And yeah, it's safe, I can see. Is it legal? Well, it's legal if it's safe and necessary. So in this case, I'm not able to move anywhere, so it's necessary for me to make progress. And if it's safe, then yeah, there was nothing really to stop me. That was a little bit of my own hesitancy about doing that, but maybe if I wasn't on an observed ride, maybe I would have done it without that self-consciousness. So, yeah, no, on the roundabout, this is one of the areas that Dave was kind of pointing out. He thought I was a little bit too leaning the bike a bit too much, and actually could have been smoother. So coming off the roundabout, because I was leaning the bike one way, I had to lean it quite a lot the other way, and I didn't go into, you got lane 1, lane 2. I didn't go into lane 2, even though it would have given me a better view past all the traffic. So I'd kind of forced myself to have to turn a bit more than necessary, and that kind of eats into the balance of grip. And when you're trying to balance how much tyre grip can I put towards cornering and how much can I put towards acceleration. It was kind of, it's eating into that. So that was one of the bits of feedback. And I tend to do roundabouts in that kind of, like it's slow control. I kind of will put a lot of lean on the bike itself, and I'll counterbalance or shift my weight on the pegs. And that's what I tend to do in the kind of slow areas. But I was then also doing it with some acceleration. So no, on this occasion it was safe, and I felt in control of it. It's just a comment, a bit of have a think about being smoother, and if you want to be smoother, don't just treat the hazards like separate hazards. So like on that roundabout, I was looking at where I was accelerating onto the roundabout, and then a bit later I was thinking about, well, what's my lane position to go round to turn to the right, and then a bit later I was thinking about how do I come off the roundabout, and then a bit later I was thinking about how do I join this other road. Actually, those things I should be joining up. That's really what it was about. That joining those things up is this whole kind of quiet efficiency thing. So here, coming to another roundabout, checking before I come on that there's no one there, moving off. I'm happy with that. Not flicking the bike around too much. That was riding round. Coming into this outside lane, having seen that I'd be able to come past this traffic here. A difficulty with this, of course, is it's kind of quite a built-up area, and everyone's doing pretty much the speed limit. So it's slow overtaking, and these aren't fast and slow lanes. These are the lane that you're meant to travel in plus an overtaking lane. So if you're going to overtake, don't hang around beside people for too long. So that was kind of it. No, this isn't an area that I know. So Dave kind of picked this route, obviously, but I have no idea quite where I'm going. So here, I could have been in lane 3. So we're going straight on. I could have been in lane 3. Nothing really stopped me, apart from the fact that I've stopped the bike. So now getting moving again is a little more difficult and fiddly. But no, there's nothing really to stop me going into lane 3. As a bike, I'm going to accelerate away faster than most of the traffic if I choose to do that. So no, I've kind of stuffed myself here, I think, really, by being in lane 2. It's not dangerous, but I could have achieved more in terms of progress and just getting out the way of the other traffic and being past the other traffic. I hadn't quite spotted until we got to this lane that it changes from 3 lanes to 2, because I'm not familiar with this road, but all done safely here. No, the traffic was okay. I know at some point we're going to be, I think, turning left, because Dave's mentioned that, but I don't really know where. It's a bit overcast, a little bit damp, I guess. It's not raining actively, but I'd say roads were damp. A little bit cold, but not anything really major. So we're coming up to this other set of roundabouts, but I'm looking out now for this turning. I'm using my mirrors. You can't see it in the video, but Dave's behind and he's signalling with his indicators for where I need to turn. So he's indicating left. So I'm looking for this left turn. Again, this is me leaning the bike a lot and accelerating. So we're getting to this national speed limit, and the bike's lent over as I accelerate. I might get the bike fully upright before I accelerate. You're right. That's the same thing. It's that grip issue. Trading off grip for cornering versus grip for acceleration. If you think about the contact point on a motorcycle wheel, it's pretty small. Compared to a car tyre, it's really small. So you have to kind of use that grip with some kind of thought. But yeah, this is national speed. Yeah, so I'm here, position 2, because there's oncoming traffic for most of this. And the driveways and stuff in position 1. Here, yeah, there's turn to the right, so I'm going past the centre line to make the turn. That was alright, maybe a little bit more flicky than I needed to be, a little bit over positioning. And there's some kind of car that looks like it's creeping out of the hedges here and wasn't sure it's seeing me, so yeah, a toot on the horn and a little wave to say, hey, as I'm just doing that for awareness, it's not like a telling off thing. Here I think I cut the corner. No, I could have stayed out more on that corner. Yeah, I could have been really in position 3 to see round it, and this is a 30-mile-an-hour section, so I don't need to really over position a lot. And I'm trying to act on the advice I had previously about because I've got the wide mirrors on the bike, so not just the ones on the fairing, but on the handlebars I've got an extra set of mirrors and they stick out quite a long way. You shouldn't really have any part of your bike over the white line, so by having a slightly wider set of mirrors at the front, I have to move my bike slightly to accommodate that. Yeah, no, I don't necessarily. I still probably couldn't tell you where this is now. But yeah, coming up to this kind of junction here, so I'm looking around for traffic, getting a sense of what's happening, looking for a signal. We're going to, I think, turn right here. So I position my bike at the right angle to exit. And afterwards, Dave made a point here about manhole covers. So, well, it's a built-up area, yeah? So there's driveways. Someone could come out. I might have to brake suddenly. Do I really want to be riding over a manhole cover or not? If I could easily avoid it, should I, shouldn't I? So I kind of was making some of those decisions as I went around here. So, yeah, no, generally, I would not choose to go over any kind of metal cover if I was on a corner. Yeah, that for me, I kind of feel it unsettles the bike a bit. There's always a risk of doing it. If I'm completely upright, I generally don't have a problem going straight over. But yeah, no, it was again. It's just a thought, just an idea. When you're trying to make those judgments, if it's a very minor change of direction to make it a little bit safer, should you be thinking about it? Part of the psyche and the thinking of an advanced rider is having a safety bubble. So having a sense all around you of what's safe. So at this point, boom, we hit a load of traffic. And another one of these cross-hatched sections. And in my mind is this kind of thing. Is it safe? Is it legal? What do I achieve by manoeuvring, in this case going through the crosshatch, and how will it be perceived? So there's a junction coming up on the left. So partly I think it would have been perceived quite badly, or people would have been frustrated in this queue of traffic if I tried to nip in between the car and the bollard. So for this point, fine. But yeah, safe, legal, what does it achieve? After this bollard, I can see for quite a long way. I can see no one's coming into the crosshatch section. So yeah, it's safe. Is it legal? Well, safe and necessary. Is it necessary for me to make progress? Because otherwise I'm kind of stuck here. Lots of the kind of the books talk about having this kind of leapfrog pattern. If you're going to filter, make sure you know where you can come back in, and that here wasn't the case. So I would have had to rely on the cars shuffling around and making space, but they're doing it. So I could have done that. I really could have done it. What would it have achieved? I'm being held up here, unnecessarily. The car is a hazard now to me because its speed dictates my speed. How would it have been perceived? No one would have cared. Past that bollard, no one would have cared. And the systematic approach, still applying IPSCA, still thinking about all the information around, observing what's around, thinking about then, your position, what's the situation with oncoming traffic. Well, actually, it turns out here, there's big spaces between the oncoming traffic. Bit of a clue. This is a set of roadworks. There's a set of traffic lights. So if the traffic lights have changed, it's really pretty safe for me to filter past if I chose to. So No, this was not one of my proudest moments. Yeah, no, almost certainly. Yeah, yeah. If I wasn't doing an observed run and I wasn't second guessing myself, then I probably would have filtered through there. I mean, I can't imagine that I wouldn't have done. When the road conditions were good, there wasn't a hazard particularly. But even this next bit, so now I've got a really clear idea. It's traffic lights. There's roadworks. Yeah, so normally in that kind of situation, I'd be thinking about, well, when the lights change, let me move early, and not necessarily overtake traffic, but maybe overtake traffic. But let me try and think about my road position there. So yeah, I don't know what happened here really. Second guessing myself a bit too much. And then really annoyingly, a couple of cyclists come past doing exactly what I should have been doing. No one's frustrated. They've overtaken me. I'm not particularly frustrated by the fact they've overtaken me. So yeah, I should have been doing that. Absolutely. A lack of decisiveness on my part. Yeah. So, and that's part again of this quiet efficiency, I think. Observe, anticipate what's going on, prioritize from all the hazards, make a plan, and then act on it. So my observations were fine. I'd kind of anticipated needing to filter, but then I was kind of caught up in this whole kind of mental argument about is it really legal or not. So lesson learned, and went back and looked at the books afterwards. So I'm happy with that. But again, this whole thing about maybe not being decisive enough. So yeah, no, I followed the car with a really big gap, and partly that's wanting to have enough room to do some kind of slow control, not having to stop and start the bike. But it also means if I'm not close enough to the car in front, then I've got no way of acting on the opportunities that come up. So there's a real downside to that as well. Here, no one's going really very quickly, so I'm not missing out on very much, maybe. But I don't really know. Had there been, I'm not familiar with this road, so maybe there could have suddenly been an opportunity to make a bit more progress. And I'm not anywhere near a 2-second following position to the vehicle in front. I'm so far back from it. Because I'm kind of mentally in this kind of slow control mentality at the moment, rather than advanced rider following position versus overtaking position. I wasn't really tuned into that. No, it's a nice little wooded area. Obviously there's people around, car parks, so people are going for walks. I'm mindful of that as I'm coming through. But it's slow. No one's really charging past me. It's reasonably close traffic, and we're getting quite near to the A3, I think, at this point. So there's a build-up of traffic, and so just kind of watching out. Coming to this roundabout, so again, I'm going slow into the roundabout, looking to see if there's a gap for me to merge into, which there is. Turning right at this point, so I don't think I've ever gone onto the A3 at this junction before, so looking around, not familiar with this area. Cars are queuing here to leave, but there's also going to be cars cutting across, so I'm looking out for that, a bit cautious about that, making sure I'm seen and that people have seen me and given way. And then I'm going to be turning off soon, but I want to make sure I've made eye contact with that car, so they're not coming in front of me. And then on here to the slip road, national speed limit, getting up here to dual carriageway speed, so by the time I get to the dual carriageway I should be doing 70. It's a straight line, I'm not cornering, so really I could have been accelerating possibly a bit further than I was doing here. This is a solid line, and shutting down there, so yeah. Now, lane 2. Lane 1 or lane 2? I had a bit of a discussion with Dave about that, and on the way back, I spent a bit more time thinking about it, and we did brief about it afterwards as well. But interesting, a whole load of thought processes. So I'm kind of thinking there's a slower vehicle in. So this is a very, very slow movement to overtake. not impeding the traffic. So that's fine. And I think it's legal, I think it's safe, I think it's legal. But you are meant to move back into lane 1. Lane 1 is the lane you're meant to travel in unless you're overtaken. The only other references I think are about junctions, so don't get in the way of traffic if trying to leave at a junction or join at a junction. And the other point Dave made later on was about emergency vehicles. We've had a discussion with some of the high-speed emergency vehicle guys in this lane that are coming down the motorway at 140 miles an hour. I really don't want a vehicle in the way, so get yourself back when you can. Don't keep flipping around. Too bad. Don't hang out in lane 2. Don't sit there. If it's clear back in lane 1 for a reasonable distance. So yeah, no, this van. So this van, this is the one I think that I'd overtaken coming up a slip road. I'm doing the speed limit, so the van is not. They've come past, but then they find that they've got a bit stuck behind a lorry. So they start slowing. So now their lorry is controlling their speed. I move out, so I'm maintaining the national speed limit, and now they're kind of boxed in. So not a great deal of forward planning from the van. But we circled each other, so yeah, so I think it was getting a bit damper as we kind of went into the countryside. Yeah, definitely a lot of humidity in the air, but cold. So yeah, no. So here I'm staying in lane 2 because that's junction people who might be leaving, so I'm orientated leaving. But I'm really aware that traffic very often joins us here, so I'm going to stay in lane 2 at this point. I'm looking at the white lines as well. Again, so I'm looking and seeing there is a car joining, so I'm happy to stay in lane 2 here. I'm not impeding them. I'm going past them. So now there's a kind of question: when do you move back to lane 1? Well, yeah. So this bit of A3 is not just 3 lanes, because lane 1 now becomes a kind of filter lane, so it's turning off. So now I've got a risk of people who have found themselves in that lane coming into lane 2. So yeah, it's going to remind you of lane 3. Is that right? That means I'll be in traffic behind it. Or do I just put myself in kind of position 2.5, 3 in the lane that I'm in? So that's kind of what I did here. It's a bit of a compromise, I guess. I'm hoping that if anyone moved out, I'd be able to have enough time to react. You don't be able to see it. Now, the lane I'm in is now essentially lane. This is where I should be. Happy to be here. Cars coming past, so I'm putting myself splitting the hazards. So between the edge of the road and the overtaking traffic. Got it, yeah, exactly. So these cars coming in from the left here in this junction, they're gonna have a lane with them, but people jump about between these lanes. So at this point I put myself in lane 3. I can see traffic is slowing, so I'm overtaking them. I know from experience people will move in and out, so I'm kind of staying here for a little bit until I can see it's safe for me to come back. So I thought that was okay. Yeah, no, I thought safe. It's definitely safe, definitely legal. The question is then kind of, what am I achieving by staying there? I'm trying to get to Ripley, and Ripley is this turning coming up, so actually I need to start moving across. Did I move too early? So now I'm way below the speed limit because my speed being controlled by the car in front, and I'm giving up control of my bike by doing that. Would I have done better to carry on past the car? Yeah, carry on past, yeah, and then turn in. There's enough room. Visibility was good, could have done. But I've pulled back, and this whole, yeah, my kind of following distance is really far back here. You know, I'm not at the following distance. I'm not going to overtake right away, but had there been an opportunity at this roundabout, I could have done. So we're turning right, I've made an assumption that the cars in the lane in lane 1 are somehow going straight on. I don't know if you can get straight on, but I assume they are. So I assume they were turning there, which they didn't do. So now they are where I need to be. So I can't really overtake them in that space I didn't feel, not safely. So I've dropped back. I think that was okay. I think that was a good decision. I'm now behind these guys as we come into this 40-mile-an-hour section heading into Ripley. So lots of room here. It's 40 miles an hour, so I'm using the width of the road that I've got. Using the tree line looking ahead, so looking up to the limit point. But it's 40 miles an hour, so as long as I can stop safely in what I can see on my side of the road, that's the kind of minimum requirement. Beyond that, whatever I can see really kind of helps my my observation and my anticipation of what might happen, and therefore my plan. So into a 30-mile-an-hour zone here, so less positioning. Dave coming past because he's going to pick somewhere for us to stop and have a debrief. So I thought this was kind of an okay ride. It's not stellar, really. And the roundabout, I hadn't thought anything about it at the time. The roundabout, the cross-hatching stuff, I kind of thought, what am I doing? I was kind of second guessing myself. I knew that one. That I felt was not great. And this question about lane 2. Yeah, no, so I was thinking about that. Yeah. How long? How long do you stay in lane 2? I'm sure it's one of these kind of, it depends. There's no right answer. Lots of people kind of say, well, if you could move back and be there for 8 seconds, la 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 la. But that's it's a rule of thumb, and there probably isn't the right answer. There's just a set of principles that you apply to a situation, and you think, and that's like I said. Yeah. So like I said, that's the point of this ride. It's the thinking and the kind of joining it up. That quiet efficiency. Am I thinking and joining it up? Am I treating everything as separate things? And I think it is a bit bitty. I'm not certain that's an advanced standard. So we stopped here, had a bit of debrief. So yeah, just running back over that stuff. So, oh god, we talked about the roundabout and the grip. That trade-off between cornering and acceleration. We talked about the manhole covers, safety bubble. What if you had to brake suddenly? And the cross-hatched area. Is it safe and necessary to enter? Thinking that through. All useful stuff. Yeah. So next bit we kind of set off on this next bit here. Country roads. I think Dave took to heart very much my comment that I don't often do country roads, and I think I must have said single track. Because that's kind of, spoiler alert, that's kind of where we end up. So now at this point here, I'm kind of moving past. I knew I could get past there. Dave would have to sort himself out. I'm sure he's competent enough to do that. So coming up to this bend, it's a sharp left-hand bend. So I'm starting over in position 3 for visibility, but moving across to 2 because really do people cut in. They cut in here. But it's a bit mucky, so I'm going to move over to 1 as soon as I've cleared the side of the road, giving room to cyclists, runners, vulnerable road users, increasing my visibility here. And this is where the national speed limit signs were kind of knocked down, and they still are. Like that. So I am confident now that this is a national speed limit area, but the sign has fallen down. So I get myself up to 60 miles an hour, or heading towards 60 miles an hour. Parked car here, so I'm a bit wary in case there's someone wandering about. Bends, and I'm using the limit point here. The road surface in position 1 is bumpy and a bit rubbish, so it probably means that the left-hand bends are taken a little more cautiously than the right-hand bends. The right-hand bends using position 3. Here, good long straight road, no other hazards. That's the place for a momentum overtake. If there's more hazards around, particularly other vehicles around, then the 3-stage overtake is better. At this point, that staggered junction no, the staggered junction I was very happy with. Slowing down, checking, and everything. But here I could have been in position 3. Much better bit of road. I could have been using the acceleration of the bike, getting up to the national speed limit, and I took a really long time. And then I come into a right-hand turn. And so the road surface in position 1 is bumpy, so I'm putting myself in position 2. Being in position 2, my visibility is compromised. Going around the limit point is a bit closer than it otherwise would be. So yeah, it slows me down more than I might have needed to. It is safe. Yeah, no, it is. I thought it was safe. Yeah, alright, sorry, you might have lost me there for a minute. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No, I can't hear you. I can't hear you because you're from the future, and that's not how it works. You can hear me, I can't hear you. Okay, future me? Yeah, no, it's fine. Sorry, that's fine. Anyway, yeah, so these roads, trying to use a limit point, but I think this one I slightly overcooked it. It was fine in terms of grip and everything else. Maybe it's me having a bit more. Maybe I need to have more confidence in the tyres. It was fine, but I was going in quicker than I would have wanted, and maybe I wasn't braking when I could have done. Dealing with the horse, yeah. So again, a good clear view in terms of being able to observe and then anticipate needing to let the car come past. This car having to hold back, going out really wide. So having worked out what to do to prioritise that and then kind of putting it into action. I thought that was okay. Bit of an ambiguous hand wave from the horse rider, but that's what it is. And then over this humpback bridge here, little humpback bridge, which impedes visibility a little bit, but yeah. And then carrying on down here, it's a straight area, so I probably could have got up to speed a bit quicker. It has got a white line down this bit of road, although it's quite narrow, so I was really trying not to kind of hang the bike over the white line if I could. So yeah, in these built-up areas, I tend to slow down a little bit. I'm wary of these driveways, dog rashing out or someone reversing or something. It's got the risk to be a bit busier, so I tend to try and slow down a bit. Giving way to cyclists and all this kind of stuff. Driveways and so on. So I'm kind of happy with this. It's still technically national speed limit. It's still technically 60 mile an hour speed limit, but for me that would be too fast for this area. So I'm kind of going at what I thought was reasonable. And then we kind of come into the 30. So good time to kind of decelerate down before we get to the 30, engine braking and so on, and not over positioning. It's a relatively tight turn, but we don't need to move around too much because again, stop in the distance you can see to be clear on your side of the road. That's what it's meant to be. So yeah, that's kind of what I was doing. So here we're going right. So again, bike is angled already at the junction. Checking the road, no need to stop in that case. So being able to move straight out, looking ahead, positioning for this right-hand bend that's followed by a left. So bringing myself over into position 3, trying to see into here, knowing I can nip into position 2 or even position 1 if I needed to. In this case, don't really need to, but this can be quite busy and always good to have that kind of option. So coming up now to the roundabout. Yeah, no, that's the roundabout with the really rubbish road surface. That's the one. So technically it's 50 miles an hour at this point, but we're not going to do 50 miles an hour here. Just going to check that it's safe to move on to the roundabout and then back into a 30. And at this point I didn't quite know what was going on or where this road led. It had the kind of feel that it's going to be, I don't know, so it doesn't look like a very main road, does it? So this is that single track road business that I was kind of mentioning earlier. Yeah, no, I did mention to Dave I don't often get to ride on country roads, including single track roads. So yeah, he very kindly set up a chance to go on a single track road. Bearing in mind it's damp, It's muddy. Um, it's a national speed limit, so technically, limit is 60 miles an hour. It's a limit, not a target. But yeah, that's kind of what you could theoretically uh, get to. Um, but in terms of limit point, in terms of safety, the amount of muck on the roads, and all this kind of stuff, I was not happy to do 60 through here at any point. I don't think. This is reasonably quick because the visibility is pretty good, even though there's various driveways and things. Um, but yeah, single track road, so you need to kind of think about my stopping distance, but also the stopping distance of other vehicles. Because it's countryside and there's fields, it's possible to look across into the field. So yeah, no, I did. I was looking ahead, trying to see any clues of vehicles coming. Couldn't see any. So I thought that bend I thought was okay. It's businesslike, I would say. I kind of knew what I was doing. I could see what was going on. It was safe. And here, yeah, it's a single track road. Yeah, it's a single track road, but a single track road in a car would take up the whole width. I'm not going to put my bike in position two here, in all the muck, because it compromised my stability and my safety. So I'm sticking to one side or the other, and mainly I'm on the left hand side here. So that was a bit of a question in my mind. When is the right time to use more of the width of this single track road? And I was kind of thinking through, when is it safe to do that? Because I don't want to do it if I can't see that it's safe if a vehicle were oncoming. So yeah, I mean it's occasional. Here is another kind of right bend, but no chance to see around. So using the horn is that right? I kind of felt it was appropriate. I bet if you live in that house, that's probably really really annoying if everyone does that. So coming down here, so some of the visibility here is much better. So there are times when using more of the width of the road would be, I think, entirely safe and legal. It would give some kind of advantage, and it wouldn't be perceived as being aggressive or adversarial anyway. So yeah, I think that would be fine. But most of the time, it's not like that. Even here, it's a little kind of crest. You can't really see beyond it. So no, I kind of stuck where I was at this point. But here it's a nice long, clearer view. So I'm starting to think about that. Is it a good time to be able to use more of that? Is there any advantage? What do I achieve from doing it? Nice bit of country road though. Good challenge. So yeah, here I can see around. So here I've gone slightly on the other side. Yeah, yeah. Because it gave me that extra bit of visibility, it helped me to kind of observe a little bit further. It gives me time, and the further you can see, the more time that you're kind of creating to prioritize and to make that plan and to make a thought through decision about what to do. It's not just a reaction; it's a definite action, and I think that's kind of some of the principles of this kind of quiet efficiency thing, isn't it? Having a kind of sense of what to do. Anyway, yeah, so kind of waffling now. So we're country roads, narrow, mud, but left-hand turn here, carefully, back onto a bigger road now. But I mean, it's foggy. It's foggy and it's damp and it's mucky. So again, I'm mindful of that. I'm thinking about the road conditions. I'm using the limit point and road position. I don't want to be well over into position 1 because it's really mucky. Here I'm trying to go around and see what there is. I'm over kind of position 2 because of the oncoming traffic, but I couldn't really see much around there. So I was cautious coming around that bend. And I mean, it's not fantastic visibility. It's downhill, and I've got some vulnerable road users. Now, I think this is where I did my kind of thing of hanging back too far. So maybe there's an opportunity to overtake. Maybe that's going to happen. But look how far away I was. I was so far back. There's no way. There's no way I could make use of any opportunity if it came up. So I've kind of pulled way back, and I kind of remember at this point I was thinking to myself, can I see far enough ahead to see the whole overtake kind of mapped out? And I don't know. I don't know. It's unrealistic in these kind of roads to think that that's going to happen. It's fine for the kind of momentum overtake before, but not for here. So, and I do an overtake in other conditions, but I don't know. I was really hanging back on this ride, really hanging back consistently. So yeah, there's something for me. And yeah, you see the other cyclists overtake the cyclists because they are in a good following position. I mean, obviously there's a difference if you're one bicycle behind another bicycle compared to having an enormous motorbike chasing you down. But I should be closer if I'm going to really look for those opportunities in earnest. And so, big learning point for me here on this. So yeah, getting a bit closer here, thinking about opportunities here. The cyclist is then kind of aware that I'm around, which I think also gave me a bit of confidence at this point. They know I'm here. Yeah, so I'm looking now, opportunity to overtake, and it's because I could see so far ahead. I had planned that, I had observed, I had anticipated that they wouldn't move because I'd had those kind of body language signals from them. So, okay, not the best overtake, but making progress. And then coming up on this cyclist as we come to a 30s. Now, what's the point? What's the point of overtaking? What do I achieve? It might be safe, it might be legal, but what do I achieve by really rushing to do an overtake in a 30? If they're going significantly slower, fine. And they do start to kind of slow down, and yeah, absolutely fine. But there's the amount of benefit, the advantage that I get, the purposefulness of the overtake. It's not the same. It really isn't the same. And quite often, these kind of 30 mile an hour areas are 30 miles an hour because they're busy areas. So yeah, it's I'm kicking myself. I'm kicking myself for this because this is my. I could have avoided this. These overtakes could have been done in that national speed limit area. I'm sure. Had I been closer, could have been. But it was safe. What I did was safe, and what I did was legal. You're not forced to overtake, so I think this is kind of more in the kind of box of polishing. But that's kind of what I wanted to get a sense of. Yeah, that was it. Is this the kind of quiet efficiency? And no, I guess it's not. It's not there, or if it's there, it's not there consistently. So no. Coming along here, so there's a kind of. I thought this was a T junction, but actually it's an S bend. And I was remembering this thing about don't flick the bike around. So I had the bike too wide here for my liking. So I think on the video it looks very controlled. At the time, it felt controlled, but having to make an effort in a way I'm not really that comfortable with. So it felt a little bit weird. The bike was more upright because I wasn't flicking it. But I don't know. I need to kind of think about that a bit more, really. That's a good question. What was it? I think if I'm really honest, I think in that kind of bend, then my kind of slow control methodology, more lean, probably would be fine because it's a really slow bend within a 30 mile an hour section, so that's like a 10 mile an hour, 50 mile an hour type corner. It is slow control, and maybe that was where I was getting it wrong. This bend just here, I think this was okay. There was a car at the junction, so I put safety first, which I deliberately then chose my position. Around about here, I was not sure if we were going to take any of these side roads. So I was kind of a bit hesitant here just because I was kind of looking for signals and stuff. Yeah, we kind of come to this this kind of 50 mile an hour section, and a few more roadworks. And I'd probably move out earlier normally. I've kind of left it late, so I kind of got into this bad habit here, I think, of second guessing myself while I'm riding. Now that doesn't work. You're better to make a decision, and a safe decision, than be umming and ahhing, not making a decision until it is kind of upon you. So maybe that's something in terms of quiet efficiency. Make a good enough decision, a good enough safe decision, to then know where I'm going to put the bike, and then be kind of happy with it. Yeah, no, it doesn't sound like me, does it? Being happy with that kind of decision making, though. But I think that's what it needs to be. So this section here, not a lot to say about this, really, is there? It's I don't know. I think maybe I was getting a little bit tired here as well. So I've been going for a while. It's a bit cold. It's a bit damp. Yeah, it's not thrilling riding at this point, is it? I'm not over positioning. But again, how far back am I from that car in front? What if there had been an opportunity? Yeah, and yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I'm really far back. It's another time of doing it. Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. So cross the roundabout, and here I know that I've got a right-hand bend coming up. So why am I not in position 1 for that? I don't know. That was not so good. But back onto this road. Looking at the tree line, I can see the road goes dead ahead. You can just see neatly from those trees it goes up this hill. But again, look at the distance to the car in front. If we're doing the speed limit, that's fine, and we probably are at this point. I'm not really gaining on that car in front very quickly, so that's probably just the distance that we're at. But yeah, I mean, most of the time in other situations I've kept my distance back, and I've let that kind of dictate my speed to some extent. So yeah, that's certainly something I took away from this ride, about being able to make use of opportunities as they come up. Here, we're all doing the speed limit. The distances that we've got are the distances we've got from having joined the road, I think. Yep, coming around here using the road position appropriately, I think. So I'm kind of in position 1.5-ish, so not right over in 1 because 1's a bit messy, but 1.5 for that bend is fine. Here, looking ahead, coming more towards position 3. Had a bit of the buffer from that whole cross-hatched area, favourite type of area, the cross-hatched area, staggered junctions and things. So no, that's all kind of fine. Yeah, no need. So right, it's cross-hatch section there. Yeah, but whilst it might be safe to enter it, it's not necessary. There'd be no need. So no, I'm comfortable with how that was done. And now we've got some slow-moving vehicles. We've got a bike, haven't we, up here? Yeah, that's right. And so, you know, as per the roadcraft, you give a bike a room. So to lane 2 is entirely appropriate. Should I have stayed in lane 2 here for visibility? No, probably not. I think there's a good long distance. So again, comfortable with my use of lane 1 and 2 on this section of dual carriageway. Yep, so there is a junction coming up. That's right, and I gotta say, I was really, really expecting that we would turn left before the lights. I kind of had that in my mind, so I didn't go to lane 2. So the car in front is slowing, and I'm slowing because I'm coming up to a set of lights. So I'm thinking about being prepared to stop if necessary. But I could have been in lane 2. I could have been going quicker, I think, because I'd slowed in case we were going to stop. Now I've got a slow moving vehicle in front. Now I know we're going straight on, so I'm at the speed limit, overtaking this car. But I could have anticipated all that sooner, I'm sure. Yeah, sure. I could have been in lane 2 a little bit earlier. Now, how long am I going to be here? I could stay out here longer, I think. So I've got this car in front. It is doing the speed limit, so I'm not going to be able to overtake it. So pulling in, that seems pretty sensible. But I've got a roundabout coming up. And at the roundabout, if I was close enough, because the car's going to slow before I do, then I'll be alongside the car. I'll be able to overtake it on the roundabout, at the entrance to the roundabout, at the exit to the roundabout. So I could have moved past this car. So I checked it was clear to enter. I'm coming past it. Look, see how slow the car goes. And here am I. But now we're both doing the same speed. I've got no speed budget left to overtake the car. So, you know, that's a poor bit of timing on my part, I think. It's safe, it's legal, but I think that could have been better, and maybe it's this following distance thing again. Yeah, so coming up here, we're going to go left. I think that's kind of the route that goes kind of towards Newlands Corner. I think that's right. So, yep, going left here. There's a turn, and then there's a tight left-hand bend coming up. So coming up here, this is a sharp left-hand turn. I should have stayed out a little bit wider, I think, just to improve the visibility. It's okay, could have been better. Looking ahead, I've got a car in front. We're doing the speed limit of 30. I've got a section where there's differing priorities for the traffic, so we give way initially, so I'm trying to approach without stopping, so I maintain movement and therefore control of the bike. Through we go, and yeah, past 30 miles an hour, we've got priority over oncoming traffic, not that there is any here, but yeah, we kind of move off. The car is less worried about sticking to a 30 mile an hour speed limit than me, because I guess they're not on an observed ride, maybe, but they disappear, they get small. So that situation, I've got no problem with that gap opening up. I'm doing the speed limit, they're choosing not to do it. I am safe and I'm legal. While they may be safe, they're certainly not legal. But at this point, this is the national speed limit, so I've got a bike, it's not a sharp bend, I should be able to put the power on, and I'm not putting it down. I'm really not catching up. And they are not doing 60 miles an hour in this section. I should be gaining and closing up and getting to a following distance, but I've fallen into this kind of mental trap here of just staying too far back. Maybe it's tiredness. But I wasn't there. But that seems to have been a consistent pattern. So I can't really blame tiredness for that. That's a little bit of hesitance, a little bit of lack of confidence, I think, on the country roads. Country roads, a little bit damp, a little bit dirty. But it's kind of weird. In a car, I'd be much more confident in a car, having grown up in the countryside driving. But yeah, it's different, I guess, on a bike. You know, I'm confident generally on the bike, making it do what I need it to do. Anyway, we get to the give way. I'm looking to see where we go. We're going to be turning left. So, yeah, my urban skills are fine because I'm looking to see if I can filter past here. It's safe, it's legal, it achieves me moving ahead. It's perceived fine, that's all good. Angled the bike to join the road, checked that it was safe to join, that's all fine. But I was really aware at this point I wasn't using the limit points consciously. I'm not in that kind of being in the zone kind of way of using it, but I kind of have forgotten about it. I wasn't consciously thinking about where is the tree line, what can I see. I was aware that position 1 tends to have branches and twigs and all sorts of rubbish in it, so I was trying not to be way over in position 1. I'm trying not to be way over in position 3. It's definitely don't want to hang the handlebars over the white line. Got oncoming traffic, so yeah, but I'm not necessarily moving about and thinking it through, and I kind of remember catching myself not having thought about it and then starting to apply it here. So really now starting to think about the limit point for this next couple of bends. So yeah, something about tiredness, something about country roads, and just I think needing more practice. That's what I think at this point. It is what I kind of need, and to join these kind of separate hazards up. You know, one bend leading to another, leading to something else, and being able to process it at a good speed, giving myself the time to do it by thinking about the position and putting myself in the right position to have the visibility far enough ahead. So at this point we are going to go to the right, and I wasn't sure because sometimes some observers then want to go right then left, some want to go right then right, and in this case we went right, and that was about it. But I think Dave started to take pity on me at this point.
That's good. Just follow me. I'll give you a rest. Just follow me. Nothing particular. Just give you a rest, yeah?
So what did I notice about Dave's riding? I guess he's positioning wider than I've been. Yeah, no, quite significantly. I'm guessing that's going to really help with kind of looking managing the limit point, extending visibility, and then being able to maintain speed rather than have to slow down quite so much. If the visibility, or if positioning is not quite so wide, then your visibility isn't quite so far, your limit point's a bit closer, and therefore you're kind of easing off on speed so you can stop it safely in the distance you can see on your side of the road. So all that kind of stuff. So positioning wider, I think, is helping him do that. Yeah, no, the other thing, when he's upright, he's accelerating more rapidly than I have been. He doesn't do it so much if he's leaning over, so he's obviously thinking through that grip trade-off between cornering and acceleration. So I think that's kind of principally the big difference. The only time when I thought there might have been something a bit weird, this particular left-hand bend, I thought he lost a little bit of grip on the rear wheel as he went past momentarily, but yeah, maybe not. It's just how it looked to me at the time. Yeah, no, sorry, I was just distracted there for a minute, so I'm back with you now. So so Dave's riding. So I kind of mentioned the wider positioning, the accelerating in a straight line to the limits, the speed limits, and probably the final thing that I'm starting to get a sense of, and probably more by watching the videos back afterwards rather than at the time, is getting a much better sense of how he's able to join up all these different hazards. And it's coming back to how far ahead he can see. Yeah, he's positioning wide. So here he's way over in position 1 here, having a good look around this bend. And there's a cyclist, so he's already anticipating that speed limit change, where he was going to be, how far he needed to move over, how far he needs to move back, because actually we're coming to another bend, so he hasn't gone all the way back over into position 1 or anything else. He's his tree line, so he's joining these things up which in my mind at the moment I think are still sitting separately, and I need to do that. I think that's really part of the core stuff of this quiet efficiency, that these things are connected, but I need to be looking far enough ahead. I need to have a sense of what there is and give myself the time by looking ahead to make that plan. I was really aware as we were doing this how far ahead he was. He obviously, this I think he spotted late. I have seen these guys in this ditch earlier, assuming they're mushroom picking or, God knows what they're doing, but they're doing something in there. I think he saw them a bit later, just judging by the brake light coming on. But this is a really good, clear road, and he was accelerating away up to the limit, and I was slower doing it. And that's partly creating that gap. He's using position 1 to have seen way around this bend, and I'm kind of 1.5-ish. It's really interesting. It's really useful. So I'm not at that standard. I'm not at that standard yet. I'm starting to get a sense of what it is to be at that standard. That's kind of helpful, isn't it? Having that sense, I think so. And it's quite useful that the demo rides as well as the kind of being observed is quite helpful. So now we come into a national. All of that I think was all 40s, wasn't it? So yeah, into the national, a little bit of wiggly stuff. But yeah, the roads are kind of surprisingly busy for these sort of country roads, with cars and bikes and stuff. Yeah, this cyclist, David kind of made this point that he doesn't like to overtake by junctions, which is a pretty standard thing to say. And I think at this point he's trying to make a point. The cyclist knew he was there. Cyclist had moved over. Dave had been out on the right-hand side to do the overtake, and by being there, that extended his view so he could see into the junction and decide whether or not to go past the cyclist, because he could see that the junction was clear. So that's a really nice way of kind of joining those things up. And yeah, using the acceleration that's in the bike. Comes a little speck a long way ahead. All I can think this is going to need me to do just some more country riding. I can't think of another way of getting this experience without just doing more hours of this kind of riding. I don't think it needs to always be observed or in a group or anything like that. And it just needs to be out there, making those kind of decisions. Like, the potholes were there, but actually position 1 was okay. But yeah, and using the acceleration that's in the bike when it's safe to do it. Like here, this is a nice straight road. Why not? And the bike I've got can certainly do it. Yeah. So this left-hand turn. Visibility is not great. I mean, I'm a little bit further back and I'm probably slightly wider out than Dave is, so my visibility is a bit different. We won't mention that he stalled his bike. We won't mention that at all. It happens, People get to, at a certain point and the equipment doesn't always work, that's why I hear. So, yeah, but it's fine. It happens. Move on. And, yeah, just more of this kind of riding. This, I think, brings us back towards Ripley. So, national speed limit roads, using the width of the road, using the visibility, where it's safe to do so. And we're coming back towards the fallen down national speed limit sign, so we can see it on the other side of the road this time. Probably not fallen down, probably knocked down, I thought, because they're both knocked down. It's not like the wind's blown them over, but yeah. And yeah, so back into Ripley, and we end up stopping at pretty much the same place we were before, having a bit of a debrief about how it's gone. I mean, I think it's been a really useful ride. It's been really useful to look at the video afterwards. Certainly for me now, it's really helpful. I don't know, future me, if you think it's as helpful to you in the future, but yeah, I think for me it's really helpful. So, yeah, pulled up here. Again, bikes angled for a prompt getaway, no fiddling and faffing around with bikes and stuff to move off. So, things that we kind of covered, we talked a bit about the single track road, stopping distances and visibility, following distances, being too far back, missing those overtaking opportunities, and that kind of quiet efficiency. Is there something there about being hesitant, and that's having an impact on my ability to make progress? So very useful kind of debrief. I'm not always great at taking things in straight away, I don't think. Some stuff I can do, but my way of learning is to kind of take stuff in and then put it out again. That's kind of what these videos are like, yeah. And talking to you, future me, it's a way of putting it out and explaining it. And by having to explain it, I'm having to think about what I'm saying. This is not, as you will know, this is not the first time I have recorded this narration. I mean, it's the first time I've done it in this style, but it's not the first time. So I've looked at this footage a good few times. Here we're pulling out, we've angled the bikes to get away in the 30-mile-an-hour zone. It's a little bit busy, it's moderately busy, there's not huge swathes of shoppers everywhere, but it's 30 miles an hour, it's an urban environment, there's lots that could go on. So split the hazards, maintain safety bubble, or I think the Americans call it a safety zone, but keep that around. Dealing with the roadworks again, being able to see ahead, but I'm still doing things in little bitty chunks. So 30 mile an hour, gradual bend off to the right, then turns to the left, becomes a 40 mile an hour section, and I've kind of got it in my head from the conversation earlier about don't flick the bike and don't accelerate hard while flicking, that meant generally don't accelerate hard. And again, maybe that's fed into a bit of that kind of country riding earlier as well. So I gradually accelerated here. I could have been on the power quicker. I mean, it's only 30 to 40, but I could have been. So that's one of the bits of feedback about partly demonstrating, I've got through a speed limit and making a change. Coming up to this roundabout, before we joined the A3, I was kind of looking at the gap. Here's a car with a roof box, so it's not a light car. I could have been alongside it by now, and I wasn't. We hit the national speed limit here. I could have been really up alongside it. We're joining a 70 mile an hour road. So yes, that was an overtake, and yes, it was safe, but it was quite slow. So 3-lane, dual carriageway, 70 mile an hour national speed limit. Lane 2, the pros and cons of staying in lane 2 for how long? So, is it safe, legal, what does it achieve, and how's it perceived? So, you're not meant to stay in lane 2 the whole time. And had a conversation about this, and we looked in the book. So, in the course book, it talks about go back to the near side lane when it's practical. It's where you're meant to be unless you're overtaking. Equally, it says don't move in and out of that lane, and check in case there's emergency vehicles coming. So pros and cons there. Roadcraft says you use there's no fast or slow lanes, there's no overtaking lane, and it also says don't get in the way of traffic that is joining or leaving your kind of multi-lane. I think it calls it a multi-lane carriageway or something, but big dual carriageway or motorway. So look at the situation. Here we've got traffic that is joining. So where do I want to be for traffic that is joining? So I'm making a decision not to be in that lane. So those cars can now come and go as they need to. I'm mindful of what's behind me. I'm checking in the mirrors, but look at the cars that are coming in. Neatly done. No problem. So I've overtaken, I've allowed them to move, and then I come back. So we've got 3 lanes, and these are now legitimately 3 lanes, but we've got a junction. So my logic at this point was, let me not be there. There's no one actually here that is leaving, or that it would get in my way. So maybe that's a bit unnecessary. I'm not stopping people coming past me, but I don't need to be in lane 2 at this point. I could have been in lane 1. But my thought at the time was, well, what if there's people joining on the other side? It's a possibility, it's a potential. So I kind of stayed in lane 2. But I've been in lane 2 now for a really, really long time. Why am I not in lane 1? Okay, let's have a look. Is anyone joining? No. No. Okay. But there is a car up ahead, and it is a bit slower. But it's a long way ahead. And the guidance is try not to be alongside people for a long time, overtaking them. So, on balance, I think I'm spending too long in lane 2 here. It's safe, it's legal. I think it is a little bit of kind of polishing, but overall, I could have been moving now from lane 1 to lane 2 to do this overtake. But yeah, I mean, so I'm doing the speed limit at this point. I'm doing 70 miles an hour. The car in lane 1 is a bit slower. The car in lane 3 is a bit faster. So it would have been not the quickest of overtakes. I'm not going to blast up to 80 miles an hour to nip past a car that's doing 60. Move back to lane 1. I think that timing of the move back to lane 1 is fine for the overtake. And I'm trying to use the tree lines. I'm trying to use all the kind of indicators, the limit point, looking up ahead on this road, so I can plan ahead. It can be very boring on a large dual carriageway, but the speeds that you're going mean that when things go wrong, they go wrong very quickly. So it's that kind of tension about trying to maintain a good level of concentration. And keep things very smooth. That's really important. These kind of high speeds, trying to do things smoothly, and it really helps to be looking ahead. Normally these roads are really in good condition, pretty good condition. So I've got traffic leaving. That's my logic now for moving into lane 2 at this point. But should I have moved? Were they going to be in my way? No, I don't think so. What was the benefit in me? What did it achieve? So, again, I think that one, no, I probably should have been in lane 1 still. I'd have then been coming up on this car here, and the potential for traffic joining, so I might have moved to overtake this car. So at this point, any traffic joining? No. Got this car overtaking? Yep. Okay. So, is that feels pretty reasonable? I'm doing the speed limit, but I kind of stayed in lane 2 here. I kind of looked way ahead, and because of that, I could see there's a brightly coloured vehicle on the hard shoulder, or on either lane 1 or the hard shoulder, and there's a slow moving car. So I chose to stay in lane 2, but again, it means I've been in lane 2 for a really long time. certainly thinking about test, that's probably too long. I was very careful to keep an eye on what's behind me. So no, there was no one who was held up by me being here. I'm not trying to enforce the speed limit on other people. I'm making sure that I'm not holding anyone up behind. It wasn't a very busy day at this point on this stretch of the dual carriageway. So back into lane 1 at this point. Looking ahead, somewhere up here and not too far away, I know there's going to be a speed limit change just because I know this bit of the road, and I can see there's a car up ahead who's slowed already. So now I'm trying to think, what are my chances of getting past that car before we get to that speed limit change? I can't see it. So alright, let me then just act as if this is all going to stay the same speed limit. So potentially then maybe I've moved out very early for this overtake, but because look, we're on the speed limit change here, and actually very few people in lane 2 and lane 3 are going to go down to 50 miles an hour at that speed limit sign, unlike me, and we will be doing it. Okay, so now I'm looking ahead and I'm thinking, okay, 50 miles an hour, what have we got in terms of traffic build up? Okay, I can see there are queues. I'm anticipating I'm going to need a filter. I'm thinking about which cars are going to be the bigger hazard. Thinking about where I want to position myself. I'm not going to filter if I'm going more than 20 miles an hour, and I'm not going to filter if I'm in anything above second gear. The guidance, some guidance on this is if traffic's doing less than 10 or 15 miles an hour, consider filtering. And don't filter if you're having to do more than 15 to 20 miles an hour. I mean, for me, I'm not going to go above 20 miles an hour filtering. It's just, I wouldn't do it. And I'm looking at all the cars and seeing if they've noticed me. Are they moving and giving any indication that they might move or change? So situations like this one, this car on the left hasn't seen me, so before I come past, I do check and make eye contact, check they've seen me before I come in and move past. So I'm pretty confident with this kind of filtering because I do this quite a lot. I think Dave was a little bit freaked out at the speed at which I began filtering and my kind of transition to filtering. Not that it was unsafe, it was just maybe he doesn't do as much filtering as I do, and for me this is quite a wide road for filtering in compared to many of the London roads. So going down here, I'm looking ahead, the road bends slightly, and I'm aware that somewhere up ahead there is a junction, and I wouldn't filter at a junction normally. I think there's so much going on. If you're a car driver and you're in stop-start traffic and another lane joins, there is so much going on that having a bike come through, making filtering through between lanes while there are cars moving between lanes, I think it's just an unnecessary risk. So as a kind of general rule for myself, I wouldn't choose to filter if traffic is merging. So I'm kind of looking ahead. I know there is a junction coming up. There's a junction sign just behind this Range Rover here, so I know it's coming up quite soon. So now I'm looking around. I'm trying to find, where can I pull in? Do I come in here? No, I'm not actually at that point where the traffic's merging yet, so I kind of carry on a bit. But I'm looking now for that space that I can nip into, making sure that the drivers have seen me. And probably what I could have done is to think about indicating to the driver that I was going to go in front of. I think I just saw there was a little gap here just as the traffic's merging. I did ask Dave about this and he thought this was fine, so the driver had obviously seen what I was doing for my road position. Extra safe, I could have given a bit of information about my intended movements with just a flash of the indicator. I think that would have been better. But yeah, no. So this is coming back up towards the Hook roundabout. So yeah, no, the roundabout at the beginning of the video where I kind of was flicking the bike a bit. This is coming back up to that area, I think now. Except this time we go under the roundabout. So filtering through. Think this is fine. Happy with this. Yeah, no, so it's been a really kind of good ride, and no, I think it was great. It was nice to do something a little bit different with a kind of booked ride rather than the Observe Sunday and all the kind of club activity that kind of goes on. So yeah, I've got to say thanks to Dave. He was fantastic in terms of spending a lot of time doing the kind of briefing stuff and the preparation, getting to understand what I wanted to get out of the ride, and to the Wave Alley team, who, this was a conversation that happened at the beginning of January, and within, I don't know, a week or so, David made contact, and we were trying to sort out a time to actually do the ride, and that was great. This is, as a club and as people giving up time to help everyone be safer. That's really good, and it's been this ride has been a really useful step, I think, in terms of my understanding about what's required in terms of the competencies and how to kind of bring them together. So no, it's been really useful. So yeah, no, at this point, now we are going to turn off soon. No, we are going to turn off soon. We're just minding Porsche. I'm going to scratch up this rather garishly coloured Porsche, but I'm not crossing the crosshatch filter, the crosshatch section here, because this is a solid white line on that, so I am waiting. So we're going to turn off soon. We're going to go left. So a little bit of ballet with this traffic here. Just waiting for this solid line section to end just here. Okay, so now I'm looking for where I can go. Finding a little gap. Is there a little gap? And some of these cars are tempted to nip into this little parade of shops to see if they can cut past, but it doesn't really work. So let's see how that does. But this gets really busy, yeah? So urban environment, lots that happen. It's a slow speed, but still, there's a lot is going on here. So coming around here, trying to share the road space sensibly, without completely kind of giving up everything. So, bit of a debrief overall. No major concerns. This was about polishing. That's kind of Dave's feedback. Limit point, use it more. Make decisions. A safe enough, good enough decision is good. Be in a position to make use of to take up the overtakes and use the grip available to make progress. And for me, the takeaway for this was also about positioning earlier and linking those hazards together. So again, really big thanks to Dave. He was fantastic. The Wave Alley team, absolutely fantastic. And he gave me some pointers on how the kind of scoring is done. 2 is satisfactory. 1 is commended. That's the kind of joining stuff up. That for me is that kind of quiet efficiency. So these have been my scores. Am I making progress? Well, I think I'm definitely making progress, but am I an advanced rider yet? Am I making quite efficient progress? Not yet, but I think I'm getting there. Okay, future me, so I'm going to go now. I've run out of things to narrate to, so do check the video quality and do have to think about whether this narration style makes any sense.